Hello, and welcome to Video Game Talk. I'm Rich.
And I am Garrett, here to talk to you today about
stuff.
Video games.
Video games.
Video games. It turns out
that we're here for games. Oh,
Okay.
let's actually let me do this. Oh, let's
I was gonna say, why don't you just scoot over, because otherwise we
Yeah.
it clips out the edge of my green screen.
Guys,
So,
we got
there
a
we
great
go.
show today. We are talking about Sea of Thieves and the potential disaster that it is.
I'm so mad, Rich. Oh.
We're also going to be talking a little bit about the PUBG mobile app. We got some other little things to talk about. We'll save those for a little bit later. But let's open up strong. Of course, we will be taking your questions at the end. And maybe we'll answer questions as we go, because we're nice guys like that.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyways, let's just, let's not hide the really big elephant in the room here. So we were both very much looking forward to...
So real quick. Can I get a show of hands, or, digital equivalency of hands in the, can I get a show of force in the chat of people who are perhaps excited about Sea of Thieves, who are really, really gunning for that to be a good one, and for people who were going to be interested in acquiring it, perhaps. So, if that's you, if you were interested in Sea of Thieves and wanted to buy it, or were interested to see kind of how it pans out, please make it known in the chat, because we're here to talk about Sea of Thieves first and foremost. I don't think you have as strong an opinion of this as I do. Do you have something to say on it before I end up just word vomiting?
I was really looking forward to it. I mean, Rare has, not been the company that it was in the 90s, and then finally they were about to turn out this giant pirate game. I mean, we all remember Project Dream. Some of us remember Project Dream back in the day, which eventually evolved into Banjo-Kazooie, but it was initially a pirate game. And then this was like, oh, Rare going back to its roots, maybe? Gonna do a big pirate game? As it turns out, it is not quite the game we're hoping for, and it's kind of the newest victim in a string of games that were DLC cut at the last minute. Garrett.
Well, I couldn't speak too much to its development cycle, and to say whether or not it was cut at the last minute or what, I don't think I haven't found a credible source yet for a lot of those details, as far as like where in the development process this may have gone awry. But let's start with the good. Because that trailer was really compelling for a lot of reasons. Sea of Thieves is beautiful.
Looks great.
It looks so good, and it plays really well. It's very optimized for a large number of systems, which first and foremost is a sin that a lot of games have been or not really a lot of games. Things are coming out pretty optimized these days. But, with the PUBG thing and whatnot, a lot of optimization is a big word kind of on everybody's lips. The idea of like, if you're going to present a graphically intense game, how do you present it to a market of people with medium-range PCs? Sea of Thieves runs great on a good range of PCs. It's very stable graphically. And it looks incredible. It has probably the prettiest water effects I've seen in any game ever, which is super, super vital for a game that is set predominantly on the ocean. It also looks to have, as far as the co-op is concerned, some of the most interesting kind of the model of play, I think, is going to reward co-op in a way that a lot of other games haven't been able to do. There's so much opportunity for joint adventures here, and usually the kind of grandiose scale that we would see in like an MMO game, as far as like you getting together with your guild and going on adventures. That used to be a staple of kind of an online experience, especially in PC world, and we haven't really seen a lot of that recently. I don't think a lot of MMOs have really captured the glory days of like the World of Warcraft, like 30, 60, sometimes 100-man raid groups, if you're talking about like the big PvP kill parties.
Just a mess on screen.
Just a mess on screen. But you know what? Those were cool because it was so interesting to be a part of something that big and to really, really feel the force of the crunch. Obviously, EVE Online gets a huge shout out too for, it's literally having player versus player battles that are thousands of people involved. So a very promising co-op model and a beautiful looking game that appears to run very well.
Yes.
That's neat. Also, the character design is incredible. I have,
Oh,
if we're going to get all the good stuff out of the way right out the gate, the pirates are wildly unique. There's a large string of body types represented, which is cool, just as far as, kind of getting the average person involved. They managed to make incredibly ugly looking, like, people, like, stylistically cool.
Yeah.
So that's very neat and very interesting.
Let's dive right into that bad stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Right
So, this is where we start to kind of run into the headache of the whole thing. For starters, there's just not that much game. There's really not. You can complete it by yourself in maybe 4 to 6 hours, and you can see everything that there is to see, just as far as, like, what the game has to offer. Yeah, within 4 to 6 hours, playing solo or even with your friends, you've probably experienced some variation of every single thing the game has to offer.
We were talking before about maybe this feels like 10% of a game.
Yeah, correct. And that was actually not an orial. I didn't come up with that. That was something that Forbes actually put out. Yeah, because Forbes reviews video games now.
They gotta stay. They're trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, that's fine. Forbes continues to be a good publication.
But they're not wrong.
They're not.
And I cynically think whenever I see a game come out like this, like even the story, I love the story mode in Battlefront 2, but it also felt like that last bit that was DLC, that should have been included in the regular game, in my opinion. This
DLC was free though.
It was free, but I feel like it probably wouldn't have been free if the backlash wasn't so great.
We can speculate, certainly.
And I cynically believe that this too. I believe that they may have had more of a game, and then Microsoft is the publisher. They probably were like, no, we need to cut this and this and this so we have guaranteed regular DLC throughout the year. You know, I think.
No, that's kind of what this all winds up to, because right now you just have it is so short that it is actually unbelievable. I've watched several live streams of people kind of playing it and whatnot, and every single time, like within about 2 hours, they're like aghast. They're like, "Is that it?" I'm not finding any new content. There's nothing. This appears to be kind of it. You get a lot up front to kind of deal with and play with. You get a lot to you get the ship right out the gate. You get a fully functional character in person, and that's cool. But unfortunately, from what I can see, the game features cosmetic only progression. So in order to clarify that, kind of outside of the jargon, what that means is that at no point are you like getting a better gun, getting a better sword,
or leveling up stats.
Yeah, getting a better cannon, or leveling up your personal stats. You're never going to jump higher. You're never going to move faster. You're literally just collecting gold in order to buy costumes or skins for your gun or skins for your sword or extra cosmetic stuff to add to your ship and whatnot. That's the whole shtick. That's it. That's your progression. That being said, there is a what is it? There is like a faction loyalty factor there. You can level up, your alignment to certain factions and whatnot, depending on who you complete quests for, who you turn in treasure for, etc. And that unlocks, kind of something there. So there is a degree of progression in that. But I kind of just summarized Sea of Thieves. That's about it. So right now, if you are a person who is, the only time I could really recommend even buying into this game is if you are positive that you have a consistent group to play with. Because from the few people that I've watched and, a few people I've read about that do have access to like a consistent, like 2 to 4 player group to kind of play with, they're having a blast with this game. But, that's not necessarily indicative of the fact that it's a good game. Yeah. Because what that means is they've set up, a good instance right there. And a lot of the times, co-op games are just intrinsically good. And playing with other players, you're not necessarily enjoying the game's content so much as you are just enjoying the game's systems and whatnot. In which Sea of Thieves excels. It is very good system-wise. But as far as an adventure on the open seas for you, Captain such and such, to go take on the world and whatnot, you'll be done in an afternoon. You'll figure it out. It doesn't really have a beginning, a middle, and end, but as far as how the systems are work, how you begin to progress and whatnot, you're going to get done very quickly.
I think if you're looking forward to this game and you are only playing by yourself, then I would suggest waiting for more content.
Yeah.
And even then, like, who knows how long we'll be waiting till this game feels a little bit more solid.
Yeah, so. I mean, honestly, this is, going to be a classic example of just kind of wait it and see sort of thing. For those people who are, trying to get rid of it, I'm not really sure with Microsoft Games return policy if it even exists per se, but for those of you who got burned by it, I'm so sorry,
Was sorry?
Yeah, we're so sorry. This is just, I would say, please, let's just put this up there next to the effigy of No Man's Sky, next to the effigy of Andromeda, next to the effigy of all those games that are just like, please don't pre-order. Please don't pre-order. I mean, that's kind of what this all comes down to. I was considering, I mean, this was one of those ones where I was like, this might be a pre-order for me. And I was like, nope, don't pre-order. And guess what? Turned out to be the right decision.
And of course, like, again, I think that a lot of this is Microsoft's fault. Of course, they'll do that classic publisher thing where they blame Rare, and, you know, Rare will just eat it in terms of PR for this.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate because I
they
think
might not this time, though, because I think people are a little bit more up to what, are a little bit more savvy on what goes on now because of all the other controversies.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But, you know, either way, this could, they could fix this quickly, or they could drag their heels, and this could end up being a disaster.
Right.
So we shall see.
We will, obviously.
We shall
to me,
see.
and this is obviously this isn't confirmed. This is just me talking. But the only reason I could possibly imagine they would release a game this incomplete is, if we have paid content on the horizon. Obviously, the in-game currency is already such that you could very much see, a sort of like, pay for coins sort of thing if you want to rush and get, your cosmetics that you like. I already see that model being very prevalent and very open, fairly soon here. But we might also get to a situation where it's like, okay, we'll unlock this area for this, unlock this kind of thing for this, unlock this kind of thing for this. It literally looks like it's just a game that is the purest foundation of which they're just going to build a a DLC stack on top of it. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe we'll see regular updates and maybe this sort of thing. But, there's a lot involved with adding to a game.
Absolutely,
in terms of levels and content and new areas and whatnot. Those things take mega man-hours to develop and are so short on it right now. This is the same problem that we saw with the original release of Final Fantasy XIV, if you remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Final Fantasy XIV came out, and it was, the same copy-pasted content all over the world. And we didn't... They literally, although Final Fantasy XIV is also one of the classic Rocky stories in the fact that it completely deleted a world, literally the canonic end of the world. Then they released A Realm Reborn, which is a
love
game
Realm
worth
Reborn.
its salt.
I was on that for too long.
That's all good.
As I do with those kinds of things.
So honestly, at this point, if Sea of Thieves came out as a $20 or $30 game, I would be like, good. Let's see what happens next. But they are asking a full price plus if you got the extra edition and whatnot. For this game, and there's no indication of when extra content will come. There's no indication of what's going to get better now. There's so much uncertainty, and it's just disappointing to see another big budget game that held so much promise and held a lot of emotional response for a lot of us to fall prey to this. This is exactly the same way that I felt when Sims 4 came out. Anybody want... Okay. In chat right now, does anybody want to know, or does anybody want to try to guess, if you download all the Sims 4 base game, plus all of their downloadable content, all of their extras, plus all of the add-ons that actually add things like pets and, city life and extra towns and all that stuff into the game. If you are playing Sims 4 as its entirety, all content, anybody want to wager in chat how much that's going to cost? Just take a gander at what the collective element of all those games cost. Because we had this before with Sims 4, where it was released, and I was like, here's a really, really, really good game with a lot of potential here. It's very sim-like. It's a great base game. But it feels so shallow. It's like that Sims 1 had more content in this game, more to do. Yep, George the Jedi nailed it, because either he looked it up or he knew offhand, but it is just under $420, guys. $420 will buy you the Sims 4 in its entirety, start to finish, all the crap.
Worth it?
No!
Absolutely.
No! Now, that being said, I don't think anybody would tell you that is how you're supposed to be playing Sims.
But that's how fans will play. They want everything.
I know. I think people will be like, well, you go in, you get what you want, you cut from that. But, classic example of why am I having to partition what content I want to play versus what content I don't? Because literally just adding a dog to my family is going to cost me $40. And they just released the Pets Cosmetic Pack, which means EA Games has officially made a DLC for a DLC! Woo! You knew it offhand? Yeah, I believe you, George. You're a very earnest gentleman. So that's all good.
Guys, modern gaming. Disappointment abounds.
Yeah, right? Well, okay, my family wants a dog, and I want to get him a harness. Guess what? I have to pay $60 to make that desire happen. I have to pay a whole new game. I have to buy The Witcher 3 at full release price in order to get a dog and a harness in my game.
It sucks.
That's not good. That's not good. That's not acceptable by any metric of reality.
This is unfortunately the reality of the gaming world right now.
Well, this is the reality of some of the gaming world. There's a handful. I should say, if I'm going to point the finger at anybody, I'm going to point it at a lot of AAA developers. And I understand these games are expensive to produce, and they do need to recoup costs somewhere.
And that's why I keep going back to the whole thing where I say, like, independently made Steam games are just kind of like what I think is the way.
They're killing it. They're killing it right now.
Won't screw you over because they need your patronage.
Right, but also, Steam games are also a classic, a sort of contender of the go to green light, get a bunch of hype, and then release an unfinished game and call it good, move on to the next project. There's a lot of imperfect metrics to both models, but if we're going to talk about the AAA releases, Sea of Thieves makes me nervous, really nervous, because we've seen this movie before in a lot of cases. A shell of a game has been released, and if they update regular content and it's free, great, whatever, but then we have to wait. What I'm concerned with is we're going to have to drop another $80 each one of us to even get to a point where this game is like something that's like really worth celebrating. At which point, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it until I see some indication of good. So Sea of Thieves is going on my to be played maybe someday shelf indefinitely until I see some major changes, more content, or an indication that this is not just a shameless DLC pitfall that Microsoft has decided to drum up for itself. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yup. So, that's our segment on Sea of Thieves. Moving on to some better news. Actually,
I guess it's better news. We'll call it better news because this is well, if Sea of Thieves was a surprising negative, which is always disappointing, we have a surprising positive to report on. And that is the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds
PUBG.
Mobile app. PUBG Mobile. The game none of us wanted.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Apparently it's fire.
Yeah, I hear, they're
really
making a mobile phone version of PUBG. I'm thinking, like, I probably won't be playing that.
Yeah, that sounds super gimmicky and really stupid. And, like, how would you even begin to translate something that can't even be optimized and stable on PC?
Yeah.
How would you then translate that to a mobile phone?
But the reviews are in, and apparently,
it's great!
The bee's knees.
What? That one took me through a turn. It's been such an emotional day researching all this stuff because I'm so upset about Sea of Thieves, and then I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm angry about Sea of Thieves, I was so prepared to come in and be like, PUBG has been tossling with this mobile app when in the reality their normal game still has like a lot of technical issues and has a faltering player base, and there's an ongoing hacker issue, and there's all this compromising things happening in their normal game, and they're releasing a mobile app? What? How dare? And then like I look at the mobile app and people are like, it's super good.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
all right.
okay.
That's a slow Larry David okay.
Okay. So, all the reviews indicate that it actually plays very satisfactory on the phone. It's very fun. It's exactly the same game. You parachute in, you play around. It's got an interface that's tailored for touch screens. It's PUBG on a mobile phone.
Of course, it doesn't share servers with the PC.
No, because people trying to aim with a mobile phone would absolutely get tousled by people with a mouse. That's not a thing.
No, to be fair, I probably will still just stick to the PC version.
No, I'm not playing it on mobile. But
that's cool for people that just want to play something on mobile.
That's because if I'm playing on mobile, I'm playing my Switch. That's it, whatnot. But I would think about that.
On that, where's the Switch PUBG?
I know, right? Yeah.
Where is it?
Okay, stretching the back. But, yeah. So, this adds a lot of questions. First off, I guess golf clap in order. Like, wow, good job. Way to go. I'm super surprised. I'm super shocked. But, what are they up to here? Is this an attempt to differentiate into a new market where, maybe the PC universe... Oh, I think Corey is here.
You guys hear those dogs?
Corey's here to film our next show after this, which we might talk about at the end.
We'll talk about it at the end.
Okay, cool.
We teased it a little bit at the end of the last week.
Yeah,
but now
for
we've
sure.
got more to say.
Yeah, and I like to reward the people that show up with live streams with exclusive info. Are they trying to differentiate into a market that because like PUBG clones have totally saturated PC world, or like because there's PUBG clones everywhere? Fortnite is outperforming it on both Twitch and overall player base. Did they have they decided we're gonna move into mobile because nobody's gonna follow us there? Does this mean that if PUBG can make shooters work on the mobile platform, are we going to see a lot more shooters
Probably
come out on the mobile? That's kind of cool.
I expect a Fortnite mobile now, any day. So.
If this works, you can bet Activision will be right on their tails with a Call of Duty mobile.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Because those games are good. They're great time killers, and that's what I want in a mobile game. My big question though, and this is kind of what I'll turn to you, is like, what does this mean for PUBG PC? Does it mean business as usual? Does this mean that this is no longer the focus of PUBG? Is it too early to tell? What do you think?
I would hope that they still, are releasing new content for the PC game. I would hate it. I would really start to resent this mobile version if all of a sudden all this new mobile stuff came out and then there was no updates to the PC version for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be terrible. I think that would be a mistake. But also, good on them for getting into mobile since Fortnite. And
I guess doing it right. I'm just so blown away that they were able to make it work. That's really what blows my mind. Is like it's so crazy to me that they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this game that we have yet to actually perfect on PC. We're gonna port it to mobile, which is usually a disastrous idea, and it just works, and they just nailed it. So, I don't know.
Hi.
Oh. So, speaking to...
This show has gone to the dogs.
Why are my dogs so loud? Oh, we're doing our show, buddy.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh,
hi, Corey.
Okay. Oh, wait. But wait. Guess what? Rico!
Live streams, ladies and gentlemen. Anything can happen.
I'm gonna take this guy out. Why don't you talk about Toys R Us?
Yes, I will get into Toys R Us. Alright, guys. So, yeah, PUBG, lot to celebrate there. Congratulations on them for their mobile app. So there has been a tragedy today in Toys R Us. Now, some of you, and again, this is video game related because, a lot of us bought some of our games at Toys R Us when Toys R Us had some nice exclusives, and they did once in a while. Toys R Us, as some of you know, in September filed for bankruptcy, and they said that they were going to close about 200 stores throughout the United States and the UK, in Britain. And then just, it seems like it was only a few days ago that they said, no, we're just closing everything. The store is going under, and for all intents and purposes, Toys R Us is going to be no more. That was sad enough. The owner of Toys R Us, yes, thank you, EDMG, that's what I'm getting to. The owner of Toys R Us, the founder, has died today at age 94, Mr. Charles Lazarus. Cool name. And, you could say that maybe he died because, he was 94 years old and he was getting there. But I think it's sad because I can't help but feel like at least part of the reason for his passing is because he was probably really stressed out and, just the whole, having to, file for bankruptcy and his life's dream just kind of being, crushed under the weight of the, the new wave of, Amazon and everything. Because let's face it, I loved Toys R Us and I still prefer to go into a store to buy something. But you cannot compete these days with a niche store like Toys R Us when you have stuff like Amazon and the online market's taking the business of those niche stores. I think Best Buy also is just kind of like a year away from filing for bankruptcy. So we're getting to that point, guys, where we're going to see much less of actually leaving our homes to buy something in favor of the online market. There are pros and cons to that, but I just feel bad for the guy that, right before he died, he had to see his whole dream being crushed, and that crushes me a little bit. So let's all give a 10-second silence to Mr. Charles Lazarus, founder of Toys R Us. Moment of silence over. I don't know if that was quite 10 seconds, but at least we all gave him his we gave him the respect that the man deserved. All right, we are moving on from Toys R Us. You've missed Toys R Us.
Nah, yeah. Toys R Us is a bummer because it holds such as nostalgia, but it's the classic example of a lot of American retail giants that have failed to update their business models to a more online formulaic version. So that's not great.
Yeah, I blamed Amazon, so that's really stupid, Amazon.
I mean, Amazon is a wonderful business model, and honestly, Amazon was doing a lot to sell Toys R Us brand toys.
Yeah.
Amazon cannot be purely blamed for this, because Amazon was moving traffic for them, too. If anything, that's the big thing, is that Toys R Us represents a large toy supply chain network, and them disappearing means that there's going to be just a lot less availability of things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on.
Happier stuff. See, we're going to have a sad news, happy news, sad news, happy news. Got to move on.
Yeah.
So a couple of big happier newses. So the American version of Detective Pikachu that we've mentioned before has finally made it to America with American voice actors.
Yeah.
And it's doing the reviews are in. Like IGN gave it an 8.2 and said it's a solid, great game.
Yeah, a lot of people have been really positive about it, which is cool. This is kind of an offshoot game. It's Pokemon's kind of in a weird spot right now with a few things. Both in the like the show presentation and also in some of the games that came out. But yeah, Detective Pikachu looks like it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one that's well worth your time.
Yeah, I think if you were on the fence about Detective Pikachu and it looked fun to you, but you just weren't sure, be sure now.
It gets our endorsement.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So,
and then A Way Out, the co-op game that is right among us here, also got an 8.3, another solid review. Do you have any thoughts about A Way Out? This wasn't a game that I was particularly looking forward to, but if you're into like co-op games like The Last of Us, then this might be the next game for you. A Way Out looks like
if you've got a buddy that you want to play with that where you want a really compelling like co-op kind of style like campaign experience, if you were a big fan of kind of the way that was portrayed in Last of Us, if you were Last of Us have co-op, right? No, it didn't.
Did it not? I always thought that it did. I mean, I played it by myself.
I didn't have the requisite console. I should have played it. I don't know. Yeah, right. But anyway, maybe a better example would be Resident Evil.
Yeah, Resident Evil.
I think
5. Yeah, has been co-op.
Yeah, so if you're interested in kind of those sitting down playing a single player campaign that's really compelling, with a friend or whatnot, it looks like A Way Out is going to be a way to get that.
A way out.
Yeah, a way out of the redundancy of shitty co-op experiences.
Yeah.
It's also cool because it's looking so open-ended and it looks like there's lots of different ways for you guys to kind of play off each other and whatnot. Fascinating stuff. Good to see. That's all I have to say there. It's simply good to see that that game has excelled in such a way.
I'd like to now spend a few minutes kind of reviewing what we talked about yesterday, and if any of you guys are not subscribed to Star Wars Network, shame on you. Subscribe to the Star Wars Network.
Yeah, because I was on Star Wars Network yesterday.
Yeah, Garrett was my special co-host, and we were talking about the new changes to Battlefront 2, and I thought it'd just be fair just to quickly mention those on here as well, in case anybody missed yesterday's.
Yeah, because I didn't see Scott, I didn't see DMG. He might have been there, but that's all good.
So, long story short, there is no longer any, you get your heroes right away. There is no longer paying for heroes.
All heroes and all hero ships are unlocked right out the gate.
Grinding is dead. You are just getting Vader right away.
They've also mentioned that they are permanently removing paid loot boxes from the game. The loot boxes will continue to exist, but you buy them exclusively through in-game currency, and that's it. They will never, ever, ever be able to be purchased through real money ever again.
EDMG says, Star what channel? I don't know if he's being sassy or if he's serious.
It's EDMG. It's probably sass. That's interesting. That's interesting.
I think our consensus, though, is that it's too little too late.
Yeah, correct. I mean, this is like what? Like, they needed a national, and literally an international controversy and a whole bunch of negative press in order to even release a game that doesn't have, pay and stuff. It's cool because it means that the arm twisting is working. So that's good. This to me isn't a victory for Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2, I think the damage is kind of done.
Yeah.
But this to me is a victory in the overall DLC, or pay to win model. legit battle, so to speak. You know, just as far as like if you're somebody who's against this, you should be interested in this because, you know, this is a victory. This is a major publisher who planned on cashing in on this, who has doubled back on all of it.
What a major disappointment, because my for the last several months, my online game of choice has been PUBG. If they release this day one like this, I probably would still be playing Battlefront, you know? Like, it's just a real shame that, you know, there's just the mood has been killed. You know, I love Star Wars.
They really,
to death, but all I desire now is different and new Star Wars
games. They didn't even need to change anything about the game. And it's not a perfect game, but we would still be playing it if they had if they were a little bit more on the front edge of fixing those technical problems associated with the rubber banding and the high latency, and if they adopted the model right now.
Yeah.
Even if they had just in-game currency loot boxes. People wouldn't have loved it, but it wouldn't have been a national freaking boycott.
I mean, for me, I beat the story mode and then maybe got online 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I probably played about 6 hours of online game, maybe 8 or something like that.
Maybe an hour or 2 total.
I had an okay time. There were a few modes that I felt completely inaccessible based on the fact that I didn't grind them out. I really enjoyed Starships. Starships was rivetingly exciting.
Yeah, but they really need to make a Rogue Squadron dedicated flight game.
They need a flight game, you know.
Bring back, and I said this when the first Battlefront came out. I was like, you know, I know the Battlefront was always a lot of people's favorite Star Wars game. It was never even in my top 5. I'm like, you know, bring back KOTOR, Shadows of the Empire, Rogue Squadron.
Right.
Those, you know, even Star Wars Racer would have all been before I would want to see a remake of Battlefront.
Yeah, but I know Corey's in the other room, and Corey was rooting for that Pod Racer remake, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree,
guys. Rogue Squadron. Shadows of the Empire might be my favorite Star Wars game, but I think that Rogue Squadron is definitely the Star Wars game that needs to be remade, because it's still, you played even the original N64 game, play it, you can get it on Steam now. It's challenging AF. It is incredibly dense with the mechanics there. If you're looking for a new Star Wars game and never played the original Rogue Squadron, it's like $3 on Steam right now.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a super solid Star Wars experience. It's a little dated, obviously, because of the fact that it is dated. But
it's about 20 years old.
Yeah, it's about 20 years old. Older than some of you in chat. So that's a thing. Really, this harkens back to the question that we were talking about the other day. Is like, where is the arm twisting coming from? Because obviously there is a lot of commercial boycotting. There's all this sort of stuff. But the big question is, did Disney have a degree of involvement in pressuring EA to create this model?
If it wasn't directly,
we assume at least a certain degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Disney executives didn't step into the EA offices and directly pressure them, then EA, of course, at least felt pressure from all the leaks that Disney's looking for a new licensor.
Right.
And you know, that it's all snowflaking now, snowballing, however you want to say it. The snow was involved.
Metaphors about snow were involved.
Yeah.
So you know, that's tough. And again, I've said before that a satisfying victory for me would be EA continues to make Battlefront, and EA continues to make Battlefront. They continue to hold on to the license for that. But the damaging factor isn't that EA holds a Star Wars license. It is that EA holds an exclusive Star Wars license. There's no other competition for Star Wars games out there. There's no other games coming into the market. Literally, as far as video games are concerned, we're just going to, on the current model, we're just going to get a Battlefront or Battlefront-esque thing every few years, and that's it for Star Wars video games. That is a grandiose squandering of the potential of Star Wars. So this whole, in fact, even if it's a good company like Bethesda, let's say Bethesda gets the exclusive license, that would be a dramatic improvement for me, but I still don't like this idea of an exclusive license. I don't like it. I want it like the old days. I want BioWare making Star Wars games, except maybe not current BioWare. I want like you could even call them BioWare. It's like EA cut BioWare's face off after they murdered them and are wearing their skin. That's current BioWare. But I want a healthy saturation of companies making Star Wars games, and some of them are going to be bad, and that's fine because guess what? We're getting a lot of Star Wars games. So that's a thing.
There's been some discussion in chat that Disney is trying to buy Sony.
No. What happened was DeKaland proposed it because he wants Disney to buy Sony so that Disney will own Ghostbusters, and then Ghostbusters will get some more content. And I'm going to jump on the train against that and say, like, maybe Sony needs to retain its own independent entity because Disney remaining competitive in the industry depends on it having some competition.
Now, guys,
Also, they can just get the rights. The rights can be distributed. And also, Disney doesn't make video games. Disney tells people to make video games.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're in the problem we're in right now.
Right. That's exactly.
So, no, and I would say no to all... To put it in context, that 20th Century Fox deal hasn't even 100% gone through yet. The courts are still trying to figure out, the laws and everything with that. It'll probably go through, but assuming that it does...
There's going to be a lot of blocking to mergers because of who is president right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of the oppositional party is going to be looking for victories.
Assuming that 20th Century Fox deal does go through, there's no way that Disney would even be allowed to buy Sony, because at that point, the courts would have to claim that a monopoly. You can't own that many major
some serious
antitrust.
There's some serious antitrust issues that pop up at that point.
Deals, between, AT&T and, everything. They all, they're either, they get them or they don't all the time. And this 20th Century Fox one is huge, but Sony, never going to happen. Also, I'd love to see Sony continue their independence for forever.
Well, yeah, DeKalen pointing out, though, that he's been highly dissatisfied with a lot of the Sony franchising.
Oh, sure, yeah, of course, me too.
But I don't think the solution is to give them to Disney.
Yeah.
I really don't. I would like to see Sony, in fact, Sony really needs to take things out of house.
But
they need to stop doing this in-house production thing.
Speaking of Sony positively, the new Spider-Man video game
looks
dope.
Oh my god, does it look good? Although this has been a year of disappointment, with a few exceptions.
We'll see. Okay. Oh, what was I going to say? Last thing I wanted to mention before we go to questions was that, we were talking about level progression in Sea of Thieves and the fact that it has none.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I would really like to see more games that kind of follow the, we'll talk about Kingdom Hearts again once we get closer to that release date, if that ever happens. But in the Kingdom Hearts series, I love the way that you upgrade your character and you see those physical changes. You do see your character jumping higher, then double jump, then triple jump, and all that. You see it physically on screen, so it's satisfying to unlock those things as you earn them. And I think that's what a lot of games, especially Sea of Thieves, is missing apparently, is just on-screen upgrades and things that you can actually feel organically upgrade within your game.
Right, yeah. There's a toss-up because a lot of the Dark Souls, kind of era really speaks to, make skill be the deciding factor, not upgrades. And there's a lot of games out there that have cosmetic-only progression. We were not... Overwatch.
Yeah.
Has cosmetic-only progression.
Well, Overwatch does have its own set of problems.
Yeah, I know. We aren't parading Overwatch around on quite the same level as, a giant shortcoming of content, because Overwatch also released as a full game. Everything that Overwatch intended to be, it was at release. Though we would still maybe like to see that story mode. Yeah. Let's see if that happens.
Ultimately, that's why I am now just kind of disenfranchised by Overwatch. There's a reason why my Twitch is no longer Rich Plays Overwatch, because I stopped playing Overwatch.
Yeah, which is interesting, although I told you not to name it that in the first place anyway.
Well,
that's fine. Okay,
hindsight.
Whatever.
Anyways, now's the time to start asking your questions. We are going to be rolling out all of your questions, answering them. And there's really not else you can do with questions. I was going to answering them
just to kind of help guide your topics. A lot of what we talked about today, DLC. I'm interested to see if you guys have any follow-ups on DLC. Yeah. We talked about the Spider-Man video game. Anybody out there have some questions on the Spider-Man game?
Yeah.
PUBG, the current state of the survival shooter.
Should EA keep Star Wars?
Yeah, the license. I'm sure it's very evident that a lot of you guys have a lot of opinions on who should be making Star Wars games.
EDMG7 proposed the channel be called Rich Plays
Everything but Overwatch. Oh man, yeah, that's the kind of spite I've come to expect from you. There we go. Do you think BioWare has a chance of leaving EA? No, because BioWare is dead.
It's completely integrated, and the original company really doesn't exist.
No, because at the end of the day, a brand is just a brand, you guys. Remember that. What really drives a brand, and really what drives the creative promise of a brand, is its team. It's the group of human beings behind it. And we see with a lot of these acquisitions that come in, companies are very interested in acquiring a brand because branding is very lucrative. EA acquiring BioWare is a classic example of this. They brought in BioWare, they absorbed it and whatnot, and then they began to release games under this BioWare logo because we, as a group, really, really put a lot of clout in BioWare. Meanwhile, none of the people that made BioWare what it was are a part of that brand anymore. So the question becomes, is that at all indicative of the overall quality? Yes, it is, and that's why ultimately you have to look at who's on the team, who's been moving off the team, and really, honestly, if you're concerned about the progression of a company, you should really looking at like, oh yeah, where the developers are going, where lead team designers are going, where the big names are going, stuff like that. So BioWare at this point has no chance of leaving EA. It will just dissolve into nothingness after they've gutted the brand for all it's worth. Because again, BioWare is just EA wearing its murdered skin at this point. So that's everything.
Scott asks, what game series would you like to see come back? This was a Video Game Fights question back in the day.
Yeah.
And he already knows my answer is Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger, y'all.
Obviously.
Chrono Trigger needs...
Still
man.
needs to come back.
Although I'm almost so nervous to say bring it back in 2018 because, Secret of Mana was such an issue.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many issues with remakes recently. But
Secret of Mana has always been a cherished game, but no one was really asking for that remake. And then they just, here it is, and it was trash. They're spending a lot of time on the 7 remake because that is what most Square fans want to see.
Yeah, that's going to be a big make or break moment.
Besides maybe Chrono Trigger. So I think if the Final Fantasy VII remake comes out and it is gold, then I think that I will be even more clamoring to see a Chrono Trigger remake.
Gotcha.
It's just a fantastic game with great mechanics. It's only held back by its graphics. It needs to be remade.
Yeah, and even then, the graphics were incredible at the time.
We have state of the art, best 2D had to offer.
Yeah, we have tremendous potential to make something just immensely memorable.
But guys, Castlevania anime, please go down that route. You can do that with Chrono Trigger. Would make a dope anime series.
It would.
Please.
An incredible anime series.
Please listen to me, all you execs that are not watching this show.
You think they could do a thing where they had like a multiple endings episode where like
yeah.
That would be kind of cool. Where it's like they release ending 1, ending 2, and ending 3 or whatnot. That would be kind of crazy.
Or it's like just like Chrono's going insane because like the multiverse is just like hitting him in the ass, and he's like, yeah, it'd be great.
That would be
great.
So, Feather1 asks, what would you like to see Sony out? What would you like to see Sony outsource to? If it would happen?
Sony is a very competent company. They put out their own video game system. They can publish their own games. They've had success publishing all kinds of stuff like Uncharted. Guys, what? I can't believe this is even a thing. Where's my hat? Grab me my hat, please. Please grab me my hat. I'm so sad now that I wasn't wearing this from the beginning of the show. Sony doesn't need any help. They don't need to outsource to anyone. Sony is the best, all right? Sony's the best. I'm not on the Rich Alvarez channel. I don't have to pander to Nintendo. Sony. Sony's the best.
We're on our channel now.
Sony, please play us.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but Rich brings up an excellent point. Sony is not beyond saving at this point. If you're not a fan of Sony, it's different than not being a fan of EA. EA at this point, is kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a very different, like, sort of contain and control sort of fandom at this point. Sony, however, has a tremendous amount of ingrained talent and whatnot. If anything, Sony should be bringing people to them. Sony should be aggressively recruiting new creative talent in order to market on their platforms and whatnot. Sony still has a lot left to give before we start considering who to outsource to.
To be fair, Scott is angry that Sony isn't making more Ghostbusters video games.
Correct, and the one that they did make was kind of meh.
It really, there's a lot that goes into the licensing of Ghostbusters because Dan Aykroyd has a stake in that.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray actually does have a small stake in the fact that he's been so disenfranchised by his own franchise.
Yeah.
For so long. It's like, we couldn't do Ghostbusters 3 when everyone was alive because Bill Murray didn't want to do it. Blame Bill Murray for why there's not better Ghostbuster stuff, guys. Really. Blame him.
Or his hesitancy thereof.
Yes.
So, okay, that's the rant there. We were supposed to give an update on Legends of the Force for George last time. So
whoops, and we did.
I need to backseat.
You said we bring it up at the end, and we didn't.
I know. I need to backseat that question again. One second, I'm going to put it on my list.
But I feel like we should really bring that up on next week's Star Wars Hour, by the way, because this just really isn't exactly the place for that.
Yeah, no. We'll give a 30-second. We'll just give it 30 seconds. That's all good. EA or EDMG not asking a question, but saying EA isn't a company; it's a carnivore. A company absorbs their assets and craps out their employees. I would say you are not describing a carnivore; you are describing a parasite, which I believe is a far more tangible analogy there.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of the Mass Effect Andromeda story? Didn't love it.
It was a mess.
Didn't love it. I mean, we're not talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, the game. We're talking about purely just the story they were telling. Didn't love it. 6 out of 10. 5 out of 10. It wasn't what killed that game. It was underdeveloped, 3D assets and a rigmarole of glitches and a whole bunch of conversations that I can't believe we're having about a $60 AAA title. But the story didn't grab me either, for what it's worth. It felt very uninspired, and it wasn't what I liked.
That was clearly just milking the Mass Effect franchise.
Yeah, it had a lot of potential. It had a compelling beginning, but it just...
Maybe they shouldn't have killed off Shepard, spoilers, at the end of Mass Effect 3 in every single ending. And then maybe they could have had a true fourth Mass Effect, but no.
Or better yet, just go back to the freaking First Contact Wars.
Yeah,
do a prequels where the humans are fighting the Turians.
I don't know. Halo Reach wasn't very good though, and that was kind of dealing with prequel stuff.
I thought Halo Reach story wise though knocked it out of the park. Yeah, so that's different. That's very very different conversation there. Morning Coffee Run says predictions on Square Enix's future after Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts 3. Insert sad dramatic music. Well, it's really going to depend on how they do. Final Fantasy VII, I think, at this point is almost going to be more pivotal to their future than Kingdom Hearts 3.
I feel bad for Square right now. They have so much explaining to do with this year's E3 in order to stay, like, on top of their PR game. It's going to... I guarantee Square will have their own platform. They'll have their own 2-hour segment. Because they've been piggybacking on top of Sony now for like 4 or 5 years, where they just kind of come in and do a 10-minute segment during Sony's press conference. No. Square needs to go back to their own press conference. This is the year I think that they will do that.
Yeah, and they've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. They're not going to dwell on things like Secret of Mana. They're not even going to mention that. They're going to just talk about the remake. They're going to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3, and hopefully a couple of new announcements.
Yeah, for sure. This will be a big year for them because we are in a little bit of limbo right now. Kingdom Hearts 3 has the potential to be good.
Yeah. And also the new Tomb Raider game, because remember, guys, they published that.
Yeah. The new Tomb Raider game, I know the movie was of a lukewarm repeal, but just in order to refresh on last week, it's looking like the new Tomb Raider game will be pretty good. So, there's some good stuff there, potentially. Who knows? Decayland reiterating that Sony needs to stop destroying Ghostbusters video games, and that is why he's upset, to which I get. Decayland is what we refer to as a single-issue voter in the video game world, to which that is fine. That is fine. It's better than being a single-issue voter in the political world.
Song says, what do you think of the Tomb Raider film? See last week's episode.
Yeah, it appears to be very mediocre, like just aggressively mediocre. But I'm excited for the new game release. I wasn't ever really super hinged on the movie. I was just kind of like, maybe we're going to get a good video game movie? Oh, nope, okay.
Very disappointing.
Fine. So, that's all good. Let's see.
We'll always have Rampage. Rampage is the next one.
Right. Feathered One pointing out maybe a Rick and Morty game? I suppose the time is now because Rick and Morty is not getting a 4th season.
Yeah, well, it appears to not be getting a 4th season.
It's not being bought out, although I think Netflix or Hulu is probably going to pounce on that. So we'll see. Just give it some time. Yeah, after the crazy controversy and some spoken and unspoken, sort of hardships that have befallen that group.
I love Justin Roiland though. I think the controversy really surrounds what's his name, the other guy.
Yeah, and Dan Harmon?
Dan Harmon, yeah.
Yeah, Dan Harmon and Szechuan. Between Dan Harmon and Szechuan sauce, I think Rick and Morty's going to have a hard time getting renewed. But, who knows. But might be time for time for a new video game. I'm good with that, although I have a hard time wondering if, a really true, Rick and Morty video game could work in anything short of, a Grand Theft Auto universe. Because, I mean, the limitlessness of Rick and Morty is what's really good. So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, hard to say.
I'm sorry. Is there anything else in chat that I want to answer right now? Let's give EDMG, or is it EDMG? George the Jedi. Let's give George the Jedi his quick answer on Legends of the Force.
Okay, cool. It's being worked on. No, it's not. Not really. So, we've. I don't want to get into too much of our background and whatnot, and mention that so much of the content has been kind of hard. A lot of our new initiatives have been kind of hard to get off the ground based on some wishy-washiness of the people that are not in this room here. And we've gotten a lot of yeses and a lot of nos, and a lot of yeses and a lot of nos.
Also, without getting into it, there's been, some, things in our personal lives that have prevented us from, making solid plans for a lot of these things.
Yeah, I was unemployed for a while, and I couldn't, do anything. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, so he was just kind of, paying for life without thinking about putting tons of money into a
figuring out how to pay for my house was a weird thing for a minute there. But, I'm good now. I got a job and we're fine.
So soon we will, I think the big focus for the last month or two has been the sketches on the Rich Alvarez channel.
Sketches.
So,
Obviously,
those are finally rolling out tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow, the sketches are dropping. The weekly Rich Alvarez sketches, and the first one, I haven't seen it yet, but I saw a few of them.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good, but I think I'll be watching the first sketch with you guys for the first time tomorrow.
I can show you tonight.
Oh, sweet. I'm going to go watch that right now.
Yeah, so the first sketch, and again, the first couple of them are going to be kind of short, but, I mean, they are called Rich Alvarez shorts, by the way. That's what I'm calling them.
Yeah.
But you know, they will range from, like, a minute to, like, 10 minutes. The first couple are going to be just, like, a minute long, but, hey, this is going to be good. So every Friday you can look forward to a new Rich Alvarez sketch until we get burned out on them.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of potential there. Also, we got a show that we're filming in 4 minutes for Video Game Network that we're working on. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yes. So Garrett had this idea, and then like a lot of things, I liked it, and I was like, "Cool, let's do that."
Yeah. So now we're doing it.
And yeah, I think it's great. So you know, we're big fans of Hot Ones on First We Feast, the channel all about, well, the channel all about food. The show is all about hot sauces and guests.
Yeah.
So we love that, and I've been wanting to do kind of a faux reality television show for a while. So it kind of took like the ideas that Garrett had and kind of applied the ideas that I've been having to make this really unique show that I'd say is half hot sauce show and then half let's play. It's like it's a hot sauce challenge with a let's play attached. I mean, I don't really want to say any more than that because, you know, I don't want to spoil. It's not. There's no story. There's nothing to spoil. But I think it'll be an interesting
experience. People play video games
and
eat progressively worse hot sauce, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, we are filming the second one tonight, and you'll get the first one probably this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be really good.
You guys want to see the whole thing? It's right there.
It's all on that hard drive. Or flash drive.
You're looking at hours of Rich Alvarez content right here. Ooh,
yeah.
It's a big expensive flash drive that is frighteningly small.
And it could break, and that would be scary.
And that would be horrible.
But yeah, this is going to be one of those shows where we're going to be paying attention a lot to your comments. So please, when this first episode drops, give it a like and then comment, even if it's a bad comment. I don't like, you know, dislikes mess with the algorithm, but give it a thumbs up if you like it or not.
Yeah.
And then comment and let us know what you liked about the episode, what you didn't like about the episode, and we'll be evolving this show as we go to try to better meet our own needs, because there's certainly things that we want to improve on the show ourselves. And then we also want to see what you guys would like to see in this show. But I think that this show has the potential to be really big. It has the potential to be really good. And I think it's a fun concept. And we're just going to work on it because we like video games and hot sauce.
Right. Also, that's just what we do. We come up with an idea. We're like, is that a good one? You want in on that one? And then we do it. And then if it doesn't work, we go, shit. And we go on to a different one. And if it works, we go, yes! Keep doing it.
Just like a lot of things we do, like, you know,
it's all trial and error.
A lot of you guys remember video game fights on Rich Alvarez channel.
Yeah, we had so much fun doing that. It never took off, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was like one of maybe my most fun show to make every week, because I loved getting friends together and arguing about video games. Unfortunately, I don't think a single episode really got over 1,000 views. So I was like,
yeah, no one liked it.
The effort we were putting into that show was not worth what we were getting.
I was tearing up my house every week to like get the screens all set up and whatnot, and yeah, it was
now,
intense.
That being said, there has been some talk about maybe bringing it back in the future on this new video game channel.
There has, yeah.
So, you know, definitely let us know if that's something you guys would like to continue to see, but ultimately, though, it's still kind of a looming thing that's like, I don't know, it's a really tough thing to put out every week.
Yeah, for sure. Aki-san, we have answered your question. We for sure want a new Star Wars game, although I don't necessarily... I think we're set on... I want a single-player RPG.
Yeah, I'm good on MMOs for a while. Like, you know, Old Republic was great, but I'm good on MMOs for a while for Star Wars.
Okay.
All right, I think that's all that I had to say. Unless there's anything else you want to answer, I think we wrap this up.
No, we got another show to film, so we got to go. But,
thank you guys so much for subscribing to the Video Game Network. Go ahead and when this episode becomes a permanent, go ahead and give it a like.
Yeah, please, likes and thumbs up. The subscriber base is so low right now. Likes and thumbs up and comments are like so valuable. Yeah. So anybody who wants to help us out, anybody who's feeling like super nice and wants to be a super fan, just go drop some of those our way.
Tell your friends to subscribe to Video Game Network. All right.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.